Hello there. My name is Olatunji Shobodu, and it's my pleasure to join you once again today on Leadership in 30 Minutes. Leadership in 30 Minutes. And today I'll be speaking on the subject leaders who find fault. Leaders who find fault. Are you a leader who finds fault? Are you a fault finding leader? Is that your approach to leadership? How is that helping you? Are you even mindful that that's your approach? Are you conscious of the fact that that's what you do, or that's the way that your followers see your leadership style? Do you know that you find fault? Do you consider that that's your first disposition when supervising your people, when watching out for what your people are doing? Are you a fault finding leader? The truth be told, there are many leaders who are fault finding leaders. There are many leaders who celebrate finding fault, pointing out what their people are not doing right or wrong. And, some glory in that, if you like. They celebrate that. They even take that as an indication of the fact that they are doing their job well. They like to catch people doing the wrong thing. There are people doing the wrong thing, presumably. I think it was Ken Blanchard that wrote a book. I remember that book called Gotcha. That is gotcha. That is, I got you. Talking about leaders who would not celebrate their people when they are caught doing something right, but they are quick to talk about when their people are doing something wrong. But I want to look at that subject, a very important subject, from a different perspective today. And whether you like it or not, there are leaders who lead by finding fault. There are leaders whose trademark is finding fault. There are people who remember them as leaders who are always talking about what they are doing wrong. There are leaders who express displeasure at how their people fall short of their expectations. They lament, they believe that it's okay to just find fault in their people. They are leaders who find fault. They are leaders whose approach to leadership is finding fault. They are leaders who are identified by their people as fault finders. They are fault finding leaders. If you are a leader, I think it's time to take a look at yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror. Ask questions about your approach to leadership. Are you one of those celebrating the faults in your people? Are you a fault finding leader? Is that the way that you develop your people? Is that your approach to developing your people? And that's not the right approach. But let me share with you a word from the scripture, from Mark chapter 7, and I'd like to very quickly read verses 1 and 2. And this is what it says, reading from the New King James Version. It says, "Then the Pharisees and some of the scribes came together to him," that is to Jesus, "having come from Jerusalem. Now, when they saw some of his disciples eat bread and with defiled, that is, with unwashed hands, they found fault. They found fault. They found fault. All right. Now, the Pharisees and the scribes were fault finding leaders. They were always looking out for faults. They were always looking for how to discredit, people. That's how they related with their people. And they did so from the perspective of, seeking to implement traditions that were handed down to them. So these were leaders who are living in the past, who expected things to be done the way they learned, for things to be done, who are not open to embrace different ways of doing things, who insisted on following the old path, although, all right, they didn't even do it out of conviction. They did most of what they did out of self projection. All right, you will think that they were serious people, you will think they were serious leaders, but no, they were hypocrites. They were hypocrites. All right, they were hypocrites. And the one that they were dealing with knew who they were, because he then said later in verse 6, he said, look, did Isaiah not prophesy that you guys are hypocrites? That one would think that you are finding fault for the right reason, not knowing that you are finding fault only to serve your own purpose. That's the irony of this fault-finding disposition that some leaders can fall into. You will think that they are finding fault so that the people can truly improve, so that the right thing can be done in the best interest of their people. But alas, they are finding fault, all right, to project themselves, to preserve themselves. They are finding fault to project themselves as being, capable, as being different, as being, credible, as being the ones doing the right things, the ones who know what the right thing is, even though they don't. They are doing it to project themselves as being superior to their subordinates. They weren't doing it because they really wanted the development of their subordinates. That's not why. Their motivation was different. And of course, if your motivation is different, if your motivation is the interest of the development of your people, then it's not likely that you would have a penchant for finding fault. We're talking about leaders who find fault. And my name still remains Olatunji Shobori. Leaders who find fault. And I hope that you are not one of them, because that's not the right way to lead. That's not the right way to lead. To be on the lookout for faults that your people make, for shortcomings on the part of your people, is to be focusing on the wrong thing. Some leaders are surprised. Some leaders even get frustrated that their people can't just seem to get it, can't just seem to live up to their expectation, can't just seem to produce, the quality outputs that they desire from that. Now, truth be told, my disposition to such leaders is that that's an act of pride. The truth is, there is no leader today, whatever it is that you know to do, you were taught, you learned that. You weren't always as good as you are. You weren't always as good as you make yourself look. There was a time that you were a shadow in terms of competence, in terms of whatever you have today to boast about. There was a time that you were a mess, that it took the investment of other leaders to shape you into who you are today. Now, why do you think that you would not be required to do the same to your people? I often say to leaders that you wouldn't be called to lead if your people had nothing to benefit from you. If the people you are leading are not deficient in certain respects, such that you are in a position to be looked up to help to address those deficiencies, you are not supposed to be leading. Perhaps you are supposed to be a follower as well. One of the things that leaders do, and are expected to do, a core aspect of their role, is to shape their followers in a way that the deficiencies, key deficiencies in their lives, are addressed. So when you are a leader, the presumption is that there are, however developed your followers may be, however matured your followers may be, they are lacking in certain instructive respects that you are in a position to address. And to the extent that they are deficient, then it means that they won't live up to your expectations to the fullest. It means that there will be times that their views, their approaches will differ from yours. It means that there will be times that you'll be disappointed in their output. It doesn't mean that they are not putting in their best. It may simply mean that those are expressions of the deficiencies that you, as the leader, need to take responsibility for, to address. So it's important that we understand the leadership responsibility from this point of view. And so that when you actually notice a fault, or what you regard to be a fault, rather than make it an issue, rather than make ridicule out of your people, rather than celebrate the fact that you found fault by broadcasting it to everyone, perhaps by even seeking to shame those people, you should take it as an indication of where your input is required. You should take any fault that you find as a challenge for you to rise up and do leadership as it should be done. You should be glad that you are able to identify such, not for the purpose of broadcasting, but so that you can get your job done better. When there is exposition of fault, it means that this is where your input is required as a leader. There is no glory, and there is to be no glory in fault finding. Fault finding does not help with the self-esteem of the people. You haven't been given a set of perfect people to lead. If you were, then of course, even you will be redundant in your position as leader. Leaders don't lead perfect people. Jesus himself said, look, I haven't come to address or to help those who are perfect. I have not even come to support those who believe that they have no need whatsoever. I have come to help those who have shortcomings, who desire to improve, who want to aspire towards perfection. And that's the leader of leaders. If that was his disposition, why is yours different? Why are you treading the path of hypocrisy? One, because even in your state, you have faults. However good you may be, you have gaps, you have deficiencies. And guess what? Your people see it. You know, the funny thing about leaders who find fault is that that attitude, which they may not readily acknowledge, is obvious to the people they lead. Their people know them to be fault finders. And unfortunately, what they have trained their people to become as fault finders, just like them. And guess who they will find fault with first? You, as the leader. Such people, such followers will find fault in their leaders first, because that's the seed that the leader has sown. That's the part that the leader has projected as the important, defining characteristic of their style of leadership. So unfortunately, these leaders think that they're serving their interests, whatever it may be, when in fact they are undermining themselves, because their followers have no regard for them. Their followers see them as hypocrites. Why? Their followers know that they have shortcomings, and they are one of those who have to cope with their shortcomings, with their deficiencies. Yet, here they are, finding fault at every slight opportunity with the people who follow them. What an irony. That's why Jesus was saying to this man, was it not said that you guys are hypocrites? That one would think that the way that you are finding fault, your interest, is noble, is genuine. But no, your interest is not genuine. Your motivation is not right. It's not even expressed. The faults are not being found so that the people can improve. It's so that you can intimidate and oppress and ride roughshod over your people, make them look as though they are good for nothing. How does that help a leader in the accomplishment of your mandate? How does that help you? How does that help you? Leaders who find fault also tend to be those who are not open to innovation, to creativity, to better ways of doing things. And so they feel threatened when they have subordinates, particularly the younger ones, who are not afraid to explore new ways, better ways, more efficient and effective ways of getting the same thing done. And that was the problem with these guys, who were basically traditionalists, who only wanted to do things the way that they had received, that they had been taught, who were afraid to embrace new ways of doing things, thinking that that would affect their leadership influence. They were that short-sighted. Unfortunately, so they were that short-sighted. They were traditional people. They sought to uphold tradition. And that doesn't work. It won't work. So you could see that it wasn't so much about developing their people. It was more about them. It was more about preserving status quo. It was more about, at least in their view, thinking they can continue to subjugate those who follow them. They weren't willing to lose their hold on their people. That's what they thought. That's why they found fault. They were always finding fault. They were always looking out for what somebody is not doing. Why are you not looking out and celebrating what they are doing, what they are doing well? Now, even in the process of, a fault arising, assuming that, yes, there's indeed a fault that has arisen, isn't there anything in that effort that you can celebrate? Isn't there anything in that effort that you can celebrate? There must be. There must be. It couldn't have been that everything that your subordinate did was wrong. All right? Completely wrong. And even if it was, there was effort. Yes, people talk about the fact that it's not effort that is important, it's result. It's again one of the problems with quotes. And that's why I'm a little hesitant with quotes. It takes effort to produce any result. It takes effort, it takes practice to improve and to keep improving. So if there is no effort, how will there be results? If there is no effort, how can we develop people in such a way that they have the skill to produce results? Efforts are very important. When people are making effort and the efforts are sincere and credible, they ought to be celebrated, not castigated for the result, celebrated. And the fact that they did not get the results that were expected, despite the input of their effort, should challenge us as leaders to help them develop. It should provoke us to seek wherein lies the problem and to take responsibility to provide the help that resolves that challenge. Because when we do so, then the effort is helped to produce results. It is an act of irresponsibility for a leader to ignore effort and be seeking to praise results alone. It's an act of irresponsibility not to probe the effort with a view to seeing where the mistakes have been made and to fill in it. The wise leader will pay attention to why effort did not produce the right results, and will seek to reshape effort, to redirect effort, such that it produces the results. That's the right approach to leadership. That's the right approach. So instead of looking for fault, you can take note of it, but look out for effort and where the effort missed it, where the effort fell short. All right? Look out. That's how to deal as a leader. There is no benefit in fault finding. It doesn't help. There is no basis for looking out for fault, except you don't understand what leadership entails. When you are looking out for faults, it makes you out as a hypocrite. And one of the things I insist on is that the number one challenge of leaders is hypocrisy. It is impossible to build credibility as a leader, which you need vitally in order to secure the strong commitment of those who follow you. It's impossible to build credibility as a hypocrite leader. And the one who is finding fault who has that as their approach, who is finding fault for the wrong reasons, who is finding fault without seeking to help, who is finding fault without recognizing effort, that's an act of hypocrisy. Who is finding fault as though he or she is so perfect and has never fallen short before. It reminds me once again, of that scripture in 1 Corinthians 4 and verse 7 that says that, there is nothing that you and I have that we have not received. And that applies to every aspect of our lives. So if you are anything today in terms of expertise, in terms of skill, in terms of knowledge, you received it. It is because of what some people added to your lives. You weren't like this before. No. You weren't born with that wisdom. Even a Solomon was not born with his wisdom. He received it. He was given. So there was a time he was not that wise man. There was a time that you weren't as smart as you are now. It took the work of some people to bring you to the level that you are, and you taking advantage of what they put inside you. And that's what you are supposed to do as a leader. Stop finding fault. Change your approach, your style of leadership. Stop finding fault. Stop finding fault. Stop celebrating fault. It's not helping you. You are only helping your people to also look out for your own faults. And the more they look, the more they observe. The more they observe, the more reluctant they become to commit fully to you, because you're not perfect after all. All right, so let me stop there for today. That's the nuggets shared today, leadership in 30 minutes. I hope that you've benefited from it. I hope that you found something that will help you to improve the quality of your leadership, from the few minutes that we have shared. And so, and if you do have comments, please put your comments in the comment section. I would like to have feedback from you. Share your thoughts about this subject. And please also, share if it has been of benefit to you. Share with others. Share with your friends. Share with your audience. Let them also benefit from what we have discussed. You never know, just one word, just one sentence, maybe what some person or the other need to hear. And by doing that, you'll be saving the lives of many. Yes, that's true. The lives of people that follow them. Because leaders shape lives. Unfortunately, some leaders destroy lives, when in fact leaders are supposed to build lives. Leadership is about lives, is not. If you must celebrate one result, it should be, how has your leadership shaped people's lives? It's not the profit, it's not the market share, it's not the efficiency and all of those things that you look at. It's first and foremost your impact in making the life of those who submit to you, who look up to you, more valuable. All right. That's what you're supposed to do as a leader. All right. So that's it. And by the way, if you're interested, we do have our Profit from Parables, program that starts in April, 1st of April. And that's a program, I would like you to check out. Check the link in the description section. You'll find it interesting. We will be walking through all the 38 parables of Jesus, and we'll be looking at it from the standpoint of how can we take advantage of them to realize profit in our lives, to change our trajectory in life. Those parables, they contain the secrets by which he lived his life. And if you find that his life is colorful, I mean, people said, he was an amazement. You want to be an amazement to people, to the world, to your society, to your community, to your family. That's an adventure that I want to recommend to you. It's 9 months, 2 hours every week. We will walk through every single parable, and we will unlock what we need, the secrets, the principles, the gems that you and I need to live our life by. And I tell you what, it will affect you in at least 7 or 9 areas of your life. It will affect your approach to business. It will affect your approach to your career. It will affect your approach to your relationships. It will affect your approach to your finances. It will affect your approach to the investments that you make. It will affect your approach, all right, to your leadership. It will affect your character. And it certainly will affect your spirit man. All right. There are clear ways that it would affect you, and that would be the focus. So you find a link there. And indeed, on the screen, please go ahead and join us. Be a part of that cohort that starts off on the 1st of April, just 2 hours every week, not so much of time, quite convenient. But the value that you will get, you know, um, there's a guarantee, by the way. And the guarantee is if you don't get far more value than what you paid for it, just ask for your money back and we'll grant it. Anyway, that's it. My name, once again, is Olatunji Shobodu, and today our discussion has focused on leaders who find fault. Leaders who find fault. It's been Leadership in 30 Minutes, and it holds every Wednesdays, 11 a.m. to 11:30 West African time on this YouTube channel. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so that you know ahead, when the next episode will hold. See you next week. You may also want to join 11 o'clock Mondays, West African time, every Monday for Leadership Monday. And there you get just one nugget that helps you through with your leadership assignment over the course of the week. All right. So see you then. Thanks for staying with us. God bless you. Bye-bye.